Hello there folks, and welcome back to part 2 of decluttering and organizing my dad's house. Last week we started, you may recall, if you haven't seen last week's video, I will link it below as well as up in a card here on the screen for you. But essentially we started by moving some things around. Now my objective for this declutter was to spend no money, use what was there, and consolidate things into the rooms that they belong in. So last week we cleaned and we got the office in somewhat of an organized state. So let's pick back up and start part 2 of this declutter. So last week we ended up with the office being consolidated, the desk was moved, and the things that are going to be in here are now in here. But I was exhausted when I finished that decluttering bit. We have lamps everywhere. I don't know why there are so many little lamps. Even my dad was very surprised at this. A lot of these lamps, by the way, found new homes in other rooms, which I will show you at the end of this video. But what we did last week is that I got all the like items together so that this could actually be used as a proper office, which it had not been. So I got most of the books and things like that in here. I have piles of decluttering outside of this room. And essentially, we now need to tackle this part here. And my biggest advice to you is when you're dealing with an overwhelming room or an overwhelming space is don't do it all in one day. I actually did take a break around the time I cut the last video and left it there, because if you get too tired physically or emotionally, it is not going to be enjoyable. And on this side, so the furniture that used to sit on top of here, including the cushions, were relocated to a room downstairs where they are a lot more useful. And this was sort of half full of mostly curtains and a little bit of bed linen type things, etc. So I'm just emptying this out, and there is a big linen closet in the hallway, which I can show you in the final reveal photos, but there is a lot of room in there, so it makes no sense to keep these things in the office, which this now kind of is, or was all along, I guess. I also found some old curtains from like when I was a teenager that could be donated, hopefully come to good use for somebody else. But most of these items you see here, again, my objective wasn't to do a massive declutter. I did a quick pass on the items that I could declutter, but most of these things are another declutter project for another day. And I would really recommend, I said this in part 1, but make sure if you're doing a big declutter, especially helping other people, is to cap your project and make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. In this case, it was mostly about organizing, a little bit of decluttering, but mostly about organizing and giving things a home. So now that we had this beautiful space cleared, I thought these posters and things like that my dad wanted to save, some of them are like family tree type things, you know, all sorts of stuff that he wanted to keep. So most of these items, or the items that we are keeping, went back into this this couch, I guess, kitchen couch, which I guess also makes no sense to have in an office, but it's a beautiful piece of furniture, and it's one of those things, like if I didn't live so far away, I would totally have this in my house because it's beautiful, it's handmade, but I don't have the room for it. But I digress. Back to the decluttering principles. In this project, I did not tackle most of the drawers in the chest of drawers that you've seen in the other rooms. I did not tackle cupboards or closets or anything like that. I also found this light that probably could be donated, but again, you know, in this quick pass that I did this day, it was not a priority. So putting that all away, giving that a bit of a wipe down, and then behind those piles, naturally, as tends to happen, is that, you know, dust and things like that do build up. Someone was saying in the last video I should be wearing shoes. I probably should have, but for those of you who've never been to Sweden or Scandinavia, we most often never do wear shoes in the house. I can assure you though that I washed my feet after these days of very messy decluttering. I did also give all these floors a wet wipe at the very end, which I did not catch on video, but these floors got a really thorough clean, and I do wonder, I have to ask my dad how old this lino is on the floor. Like, this would be pretty original stuff. But anyway, we're getting close to the end of this declutter, and most of those posters and things that you saw in the back of the room have now been moved to just behind where my feet are, between the wall and the desk. Because again, there were some items there, some family tree research and things like that, that I know my dad wanted to keep. But big things like that, like boards and posters, they can just be really hard to find the right place for them. And we are now on the home stretch, so I've cleaned the floors and I got the rugs in from airing outside. It was a beautiful sunny but breezy day when I did this cleaning. So these rugs, by the way, many of them were made by my grandmother from scraps of clothing and linen and things like that. So this is hand woven by my grandma, and it's really, really lovely to be able to put it back on the floor in this clean, lovely room. So let's check out the final result of the 4 rooms that I worked on upstairs. So this is the office before we started last week, and as you can see, it was pretty overwhelming. There was a lot of stuff here, and I am so excited with how it turned out. Would I have loved to paint and do some other things in here? Of course. Would I have loved to relocate even more furniture? Quite possibly. But this is the reality, especially if you know someone or if you've lived on a farm yourself. There's often a lot of different old furniture pieces, including these old dining chairs. But I am really, really glad how much we were able to consolidate things. All that technology and stuff up on the top shelf does need to be gone through another time, but at least now I've made it easy enough and put it all in the one place so that when Dad gets around to that, or if I can help him next time I'm visiting, we will tackle that together. The biggest change is probably the desk. My husband and my brother both sat here and did video games, and the desk was used several times in the whole time I was there, which was really, really lovely to see. And we also have these little Dala horses. The red little horses you can see on the screen are a very traditional Swedish souvenir. So if you recognize them, let me know in the comments below if you are a Swede or have been to Sweden and recognize those. But I'm very, very glad that we now have a useful office that can be used again. And this had a bit of a flow-on effect. So the landing just outside, we now have 2 matching chairs here. I found this little table hidden in the office, put some nice little flowers on it. And it's really nice because this is the area that you sort of come up into. And all these rugs you see on the floor were handmade by my grandmother or other people in the family. And they really do fit into this sort of farmhouse style. And behind the chairs there, those white cupboards, is the linen closet. So a lot of items did go in here, but again, those cupboards were not decluttered. That was not the purpose of this video. And this here is the room that my husband and I stay in, which is sort of the main guest room. And I really just did a few finishing touches. We moved that shelf that you saw last time and just reshuffled the furniture a little bit. I think there's something about green. For me, it's a very soothing color, and I actually really love the wallpaper in here, even though it is quite old. But it was really nice to just take that old chair in the corner that came from the landing where it didn't have a matching pair, so it actually works a lot better in here. The mirror was on a different wall before, and this beautiful piece of furniture is just, it's like looking at art. And it was squished in between other furniture before, and I feel like now it sort of has a place of pride. And again, some of the art, some of the things on the walls is possibly not what I would choose for my home, but a lot of the items were already here. And the one thing I realized looking back on this footage is I would have loved to get those stickers off that old dresser, but maybe that's a project for next time. And here on the dresser as well is just a little baby photo of me. I think I was about a year old or something when that was taken. But I love these old pieces, alarm clocks and things like that. And it turned out really, really good. The least amount of time I spent was this room here, which used to be my childhood bedroom, but really the main thing here was to make it a little bit more cozy, because this is the other sort of double bedroom where guests tend to come and stay. I found a rug in another part of the house, so I added that in here. Again, these beautiful old wooden floorboards are just gorgeous. This wallpaper certainly is a little bit busy, but I don't mind it. I have fond memories of it as a kid. And yeah, just making it really warm and cozy for guests. And I don't know if you've ever been to Scandinavia in June, but the nights are really, really beautiful. This is around 10 o'clock at night, and it's just beautiful and light. I found these old touches as well, old alarm clocks and things like that. So I'm really, really happy with how this room turned out, mostly from a guest perspective. I tend to stay in the other room with the green wallpaper that you just saw, but this turned out really, really nice as well. And my brother and I actually spent some time together on this room, which is his old childhood bedroom, which has never really been decluttered. And we got a lot of old posters off the wall, but we also got rid of a huge amount of things from this bookshelf, probably by far the biggest declutter that we did. But just getting some of those old posters off the walls made this room feel completely different to how it was before. And he was really happy to have a lot more space in here. Now, unfortunately, I lost the footage of how much we got rid of, but let me show you. We got rid of a red bin about this size worth of just garbage, trash, stuff that needed to go. We also got rid of a car boot full of donations, mostly books and things like that. And we got rid of a whole yellow recycling bin worth of recycling, catalogs, paper, etc. Pretty happy with that. Thanks again for watching to the very end, and feel free to give me a thumbs up on this video if you haven't already. I will be going back to other types of decluttering content now, but if you like this type of video, I will ask around and see if there is anyone else in my network that has a space to declutter for you, which is outside of my own house. But I really appreciate you being here. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to see you in the next video.